My name is Chirag Kulkarni. I live here in Brooklyn, New York. And, my background has been mostly in the, growth marketing space for the last 10 to 12 years. From a young age, I was always just, I think, fascinated by the way the web works, the fact that you don't have to go into a 9 to 5 job and make money. The fact that you can, throw up a blog or an affiliate site and make money passively was like something that was fascinating to me. When I was 15 or 16, I ran across a guy named Neil Patel, and just built like a relationship with him virtually, just trying to help him out in whatever little way I could. But he was nice enough to kind of give me a contract to work with him on the SEO side. And so from an early age, just like worked on things like on-page optimization, link building, was like a heavy focus there. And the rest is kind of history. Along the way, helped a bunch of brands, likes of Expedias and the LinkedIn's of the world that Neil actually introduced me to. And then I did a brief stint as the chief marketing officer of a company in the digital health space, helped scale them from nothing to about $500 million in revenue. We had about a $40-50 million a year e-commerce asset that we grew. So, e-commerce SEO specifically, something that in my current company, Taco, we do AI-assisted SEO. So, with this whole craze of ChatGPT and all these AI type models, I was basically thinking like, SEO traditionally is a very root, laborious process, but with AI agents, you can streamline a lot of things that would historically take hours upon hours to do, such as keyword research, technical SEO. And so we have a team of 13, and we mostly do e-commerce, software, and then some local SEO for brands. So, brands like Expedia, like I mentioned, but Beam, they're in the e-commerce space. Evie, they're a vaginal microbiome company. Vela, they're a company in the sexual lubricant space. Just like a bunch of kind of interesting brands where there may be some restrictions when it comes to them being able to market online, or they're just trying to leverage this channel, which continues to kind of compound in a very kind of effective manner, offset some of the paid ad spend. Like some of our brands, they were spending maybe 6-7 figures a month on paid, and they're able to drive their efficiencies to paid down to say, 40 to 50%, depending on the investment that they make in SEO. So that's a little bit about me. And I thought what we can do is like, I want to make this obviously as engaging as possible and as helpful to the group. So maybe what we can do is I have a list of companies. Truthfully, I have not gone through these, which I think will be interesting to just go down the list. And I think it would be great if you are here, it'd be awesome to just learn more about you, your business. What are you currently doing from an SEO standpoint? Just do an introduction for the group, and then we can go from there. And just if you could, Molly, appreciate you turning on your camera, but if you are able to turn on your camera when you're introducing yourself to the group, that would be amazing. So I think first up on the list here, we have Avneet from Regent Row. So Avneet, if you're here, do you want to turn on your camera, say hello, and maybe just share a little bit about like the brand? Like I'll share it on the screen and walk through like things that I would do differently from an SEO standpoint, but I would love it if you could share a little bit about that.
Hi, yeah. So I'm in my car, so you probably don't want to see my face, but it's exactly what the picture looks like. Um, uh, we just started this brand called Regent Row. It's been about 6 to 9 months. All of our traffic is currently coming from ads, so we haven't really invested a lot into SEO. Maybe just some backlinks or some PR stuff that's probably driving up some of it, and a little bit of blogs, but we're
Mhm.
barely touching the surface on SEO. So I'm really curious to learn more.
Amazing. So, and the link building that you're doing, just so I understand, is that
Mhm.
you're doing that in-house? Are you doing that through
Yeah,
uh
in-house. We hired a freelancer
cool.
to get some more backlinks, which maybe helped a little bit, but all of it's just through either PR or articles that were written about us. So
Cool.
yeah, again, very, very recent and new to it.
And I don't know, like everyone here and some of the brands that I got like a second to look through are at really different levels. So I'm going to assume that, you know, some people know some things about SEO and some don't. So I'm going to assume nobody knows much about SEO, right? When it comes to how I'm going to talk about it. But the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to e-commerce SEO, and like, let me, if it's cool, let me just share my screen and let's go through this and how I would think about this. And Avneet, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me too.
Will
So
do.
this is the site. Pretty interesting business, I would say, right? It probably pretty hot space just in general, like this whole sweat resistant, like how do you find inclusive size? Like True Classic obviously is like a great example of like this doing quite well. Right off the bat, what I would say is, for those that are familiar, there's like several tools that I would recommend could be good if you're trying to invest in SEO. One of them is ahrefs. There's others called Mangools that are a little bit lower price point, SEMrush. It's a pretty expensive tool, so like depending on what you're trying to do, this may or may not be worth it. But let's talk just really quickly, Avneet, about like the links, right? So
Good question. Do
yeah,
you have a preference between platforms, or are they kind of all comparable? I use SEMrush, so I just wasn't, it looked very similar, so.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good question, Molly. I personally prefer Ahrefs for several reasons. Honestly, it's a preference thing. I think SEMrush gives you better value for dollar. So they're not big differences. I will say that you find in cases in which Ahrefs actually underreports the traffic, whereas SEMrush overestimates the traffic, is what I found just across the board in different industries. So um, all things said, like I think SEMrush is completely fine. I have a personal bias for Ahrefs because I think the keyword data is a little bit more accurate than
Got
other
it.
tools, but that's just a preference thing.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So Avneet, a couple of things, right? So what types of links that were being built, do you know, for so just for people's understanding too, like backlinks are essentially, so like let's take for example this, so this is a link, right, that's going to Regent Rose site, right? So, you know, this is helpful for several reasons, right? Think of links as almost votes, right? That you're actually giving a website. So, you know, the more votes in theory that you get, the higher your site is going to be able to rank for particular keywords, right? So if I go for a particular keyword and get, say, 20 links versus my competitors are getting 3 links, then in theory, assuming that I have a high quality amount of links, then I'm going to be able to rank higher. So Avneet, like what are some of the examples of links that were built by the freelancer, just so I can dig deeper into that?
Yeah, so the first two were done in-house with Chubster and Curvy Fashionista, their blog specifically for those. But for example, the rest of them, like Digital, Infowave, or My Four and More, we actually paid somebody to do that for us as well. Then there was always a balance of follow and no follow. I
Yep.
don't think there were more than 3 or 4 links per article. This one I
Got it.
don't know, so it might have been, yeah, I don't know what this is. So this is probably done by some freelancer.
Okay, cool. So the biggest thing I would tell you is that there's 2 things. We can talk about this for hours, but essentially there's 2 things that I would really want to focus on. One is something called the domain rank, and the second is something which is essentially the traffic. So you want to get backlinks from sites that essentially have a domain rank of at least 30 and have at least 1,000 visitors a month. So in the case of like Digital Infowave, you can see here this column says DR. This has a DR of 1.6 and has a domain traffic of 0. So this is an example of a link that I probably would not have acquired if you have acquired it. Now, there are many cases in which, you know, a niche blogger like this may go and they may actually go and build these links on their own and just automatically reach out to Regent Row, right? So for example, as you continue to grow in popularity, brands will continue to get links just organically. But what I would do, Avneet, is I would be very conscious about the types of links that you're building, because if you build too many negative links, these are links called, this not in particular, but typically links that fall out of that category may be bucketed in the category of PBN links or private blog networks. Google has done a pretty good job of figuring out which links are paid for, which links look spammy. And if you have a high amount of those spammy links, you can actually penalize your site. Now, what does penalize your site mean? It basically means that you're not going to be able to rank for these particular keywords, which obviously, so you'll basically get no traffic, and Google will basically say that, you know, you have to fix the amount of links that are being built. And if you don't, then you're not going to be able to rank. So that's the first thing I think on the links. Like, I think generally speaking, like this one's great, right? 47, you know, it doesn't have much traffic to the site, which is a little bit concerning, but I would do a hard look at the links that are being built and just look at those two parameters to start with. Number one, does it have a DR over 30? And number two, does it have at least 1,000 organic visitors a month? Now let's go a little bit into the actual site itself. So like you said, right, not bad, right? Not a bad start here. You know, you're, I don't know, since April 6th till now, you're at about 1,000 or so visitors a month. Let's go a little bit into the keywords themselves. So several things that I'll call out here right off the bat, right? Number one, do you guys notice here how most of these are blogs? This is fine, but what we typically want is in e-commerce, we want to rank collections and products pages. Why? Because collections and product pages are where you're getting transactions. So the first thing right off the bat I would do is I would look at region rows. Whoops, not this link. I would look at region rows, product and collections pages, and I would figure out how can we optimize them. So right off the bat, let's look at this one, right? Short sleeve. So big and tall, short sleeve commuter t-shirt. The first thing I would look at here is if you look at this collections page, right? There's a tool here called detailed. Do you notice here how the title, the description, and there's no H1 listed here? So what we would want to do is we want to figure out like what would be examples of collections pages that we can actually build for region row, so to allow us to rank, right? So, you know, this could be big and tall polo, for example, could be an example of a collections page, right? And we would use ahrefs to essentially do keyword research. So let me look at a couple of the competitors and see what they've actually built their collections pages on, and we can essentially mirror something very similar for what region row would be. Let's do this. This is a good example of a collections, right, for polos and t-shirts. So I'm going to assume, let me just throw in this into ahrefs really quick. So yeah, they're getting more traffic than region row, but I don't know if this is exactly the best site. But the easiest thing you can do is if you throw in this domain into, so they don't get any traffic. So what I would do is I would then go look up directly polo t-shirts. And what I would try to do is I would try to find specific collections pages that we could actually optimize region row for this core like collections page around polo t-shirts. So if I go here and I type in look at keyword ideas, this is starting to show me what are examples of keywords that I can focus on that have a low keyword difficulty and a decent amount of volume for me to build collections opportunities for. Now, keyword difficulty is somewhat similar to domain rank in the sense that it's from 0 to 100. So a keyword difficulty of 0 means it's quite easy to rank for. A keyword difficulty of 100 means it's super competitive to rank for. Search volume is the amount of people that are searching for this keyword. So I think the first thing I would do, Avneet, is I would basically go and figure out what are the collections opportunities that I want to rank for. I would optimize the collections for the title, the meta description, the H1. And what I would also do is for the collections is, do you notice here how there's not a ton of content? What we found works really well in e-commerce is adding anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 words in each collections page. And what you can do is you can add a JavaScript show more button to show or hide that content. So if you think about it, Google is obviously crawling the site to determine what keywords we want to rank for. So if we decide to go and we want to rank for the keyword polo t-shirts or big and tall polo t-shirts, whichever the collections are, we want to write an article essentially that's anywhere between 1,500, 2,000 words around that and have relevant keywords as secondary keywords in the H2s of that actual piece of content. So that's I think, couple of things that I would do immediately off the bat. And I think when I'm looking at the product pages themselves, I think they look quite good. I'm assuming that you've optimized them for the correct product keyword. So the biggest thing here is I would try to front load the core keyword. So in this case, if it's big and tall polo t-shirts, I would front load that here and say big and tall polo t-shirts, shop exclusive on region row. Same here with the description. I would make sure the primary keyword, which is big and tall polo t-shirts in this case, is listed here, which you have. And I would also check the canonicals, right? So canonical, essentially, you can just see here, is basically saying like, what is the main reference URL associated? So I would just check this on the back end to make sure that this is referencing correctly.
And is that widget that you're using, is that your SEO tool? Or is
No.
that a different widget?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is a tool called Detailed. It basically it's a free tool actually. So like you can just very quickly go and see like what's the structure of the site. So for example, right here, the H1 is big and tall tech polo, which is great. Like you want that. So that's what this tool is based on.
And sorry, what's it called?
It's called Detailed. Here, I'll throw it at the chat.
Detail. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Quick question on putting collections. What if you don't have a lot of products? Like, for example, we only have 3 products, 1 fabric. So creating a full collection specifically just for polos, does that still make sense?
It may make sense. That's where I add the caveat that if you can mix and match. So typically, here's what I'll say. In e-commerce, we have a lot of success ranking collections pages. It's a lot harder to build backlinks to product pages to get them to rank. So it's not that they can't work. It's that collections pages generally rank much better than product pages do.
Got it.
And I think the last thing I'll just do, and I was telling Shin that this would take 5 minutes each. Clearly not, which is completely fine. One thing I would just say here is on the content, what I would do is I would actually take your competitors, and in ahrefs, what we typically do, and again, there's somewhat an AI-assisted process for this too, is we'll actually go and we'll look at what are examples of keywords that are high volume, low keyword difficulty. And there's an amazing feature that I really like here called lowest DR. So what that allows me to do is if I throw in the one brand, let me look at another competitor. Yeah, so this is obviously a lot of traffic. So what I can do here is, let's say I go here, do you see this lowest DR feature? What I can do here is I can see what are examples of sites that have a low domain rank that are still ranking in the top 100, top 10, top 5, whichever setting you set it to in the SERPs. So what this means is that if a site that has a low domain rank is able to rank, that means I'm going to be able to rank too. And what I would do is I would take all your competitors and I would try to figure out what are blog related topics that I can write about that have a high volume, low keyword difficulty, and have that lowest DR feature figured. And that's how I would figure out what kind of content. The other thing I would recommend here is the content looks pretty good, to be honest with you. The biggest thing I would say here is like, I really like that you're internally linking to the product or collections pages. I would keep that going. Again, that'll just drive, as you're getting more organic traffic, that's going to drive clicks and ultimately revenue to the product and collections pages. But I would try to think about, now that you have 1 or 2 blog posts that are doing quite well, how do you now broaden that base with the content itself, but then also getting actual product and collections pages ranked. So that's hopefully helpful. Any questions, Avneet?
Yeah, we're actually going to start using a service that does blog posts for us. It's written through AI and then edited by a human, and all the products in the blogs are shoppable. So instead of having a link, you can actually, it's a widget that basically showcases the product. and you can buy it right there. So we're hoping for a higher conversion through those blogs, because I think what we notice is people will come through the blogs, but then they won't necessarily go to the homepage, or they might not buy stuff. It's just good for traffic. So I'm hoping this new feature would actually let the person buy and see the product right there through images. I think that should be rolled out next week. But you're also saying that I should diversify my content and SEO outside of just blogs as well.
You say the last part one more time.
Is that right? So you're saying like instead of investing so much in just blogs for SEO, there's opportunity elsewhere, because you don't want to be driving traffic through blogs.
Yeah,
Okay.
like if you can rank. So one thing that's changed, right, in recent times is e-commerce SEO has become, it was a lot harder, I would say 2 years ago, when a lot of affiliates, like Forbes, for example, I'm sure you guys have seen, like they've dominated like the top 5 best CBD oils for dogs, right, for example. So that all has changed a lot, where a lot of that parasite SEO has basically changed. And so a lot of e-commerce type sites that are ranking product and collections pages, I think it's mainly to try to compete with Amazon. Google is trying to do this, but I would focus on product and collections pages first. And the second thing I would do is I would make sure that your blogs target internal linking opportunities, because internal links for e-commerce almost act as like backlinks, right? And so I would do those two things. And the third thing I would do is I would build backlinks to collections pages and blogs, and I would do that on a regular cadence for DR 30 plus links that have at least 1,000 organic searches. You want to make sure the content is relevant, is focused on the actual topic that you're talking about, and the sites that you're getting are obviously in the niche too. That's exactly what I would do, and I think you'll have a lot of success.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Okay. So next, why don't we do sugared and bronzed? Somebody
Sounds good.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. So Molly, do you want to share a little bit about sugared and bronzed? What's your role in the company? What are you currently doing from an SEO standpoint? And then I'll get into the details.
Okay, awesome. And sorry, I'm driving cross country, but I'm not driving.
Good.
But it's don't worry. But yeah, so I am the vice president of marketing, and I didn't have any experience with SEO prior to, I mean, I knew what it was in general, but I've been working on it. I've been working at Sugar and Bronze for about 2 years and just kind of dabbling, figuring things out. I would say like a C- student on SEO knowledge. Like I can kind of figure out my way a little bit around SEMrush, but then I still get lost and can't find things. And over the weekend, I was like really pushing on a lot of our SEO, writing blogs, but I think where my knowledge gap is obviously I have everything else to do too. It's like one thing of many that I work on. And then also like, there's definitely a lot of things that I'm like, okay, I know that we're missing our H1 headers,
Yep.
but our software developer has a custom Shopify interface. So I'm like, I don't see in the template where I can update those. So it's kind of like back and forth through that. And then I've been just trying to kind of go through and like update with blog posts and additional pages. But I would say like, I don't know what I don't know, you know, like what's missing, what could be better. Is it better to do blog posts on our own website? Do those really move the needle? Does it help to link in a blog post back to my own website, even though it's on the website? I post all of our stuff back onto like Medium and LinkedIn. Does that help or not really? So like, those are kind of the questions I have of
Cool.
Maybe like, what's the best use of, like, where are the right places? Like, I'm spending all this time doing this stuff. Am I wasting time doing the right thing? So yeah.
Awesome. All right, coolio. Let me try to answer a couple of those questions as I like go through this, but feel free to
Cool.
ask me specifics too. So,
And oh yeah, for
Go ahead.
quick context, we've been around for 14 years, and we
Wow.
have 30 like brick and mortar locations. So we're a mostly service based company, but we are relaunching our product line, which has traditionally been a very small part of our business. But part of my desire right now is that as we kind of launch a bigger push around e-commerce, I want to make sure we're set up really strongly from SEO.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I don't know if any of you guys are in New York, I think LA too, but we
Yeah.
work with a company called Piece of Cake Moving and did a lot of local SEO for them. So I can talk a little bit about that as well as like what I'm finding on the e-commerce side. So I think first off, let me just quickly talk through the local stuff, right? So my understanding is, are you guys in New York? I think you are.
We're in New York, Texas. We have New York, Texas, LA, Orange County, and Miami, and
Okay.
Philadelphia.
So the first thing right off the bat I would say is like, you guys have a lot of very, very positive reviews, and no offense to the folks in ecom here, but local SEO is even easier than ecom.
Good.
So like, I don't know what you're doing currently with local SEO, but I would attack it. So a couple of things right off the bat I would do. Wait a second, not that.
And I know
So-
our
Mhm.
pages are kind of shit. We're going to be redoing our location
Cool.
pages so that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
like way more info compared to, I've been looking at like Sugaring NYC, which is one of our competitors, and kind of seeing like, oh, we are missing so much information in our location pages.
Cool. No, that's
But yeah,
great.
please,
So
sorry, keep going.
I think first thing right off the bat I would say is there's three parameters that are the most important when it comes to local SEO: name, address, and phone number. So, and it has to match your Google My Business listing. So I think in this case, I can't find Borum Hill here. Maybe I can. But essentially what I would do is I would make sure that here it is, Sugar and Bronze, Borum Hill. I would make sure that that name, address, and phone number matches, and I would add a map embed. So this is an example of a map embed. So do you see here how, yeah, you see this, how you're actually like showing the actual map embed,
Oh,
and then you have the name, you have the address, and then you have the phone number. So I would replicate a very, very similar structure when it comes to this for local SEO. The second thing I would do to drive leads is I would build local citations. So just like we talked about backlinks for other e-commerce type brands, like I would do the same thing here. Is I would build backlinks, but local citations will help you essentially drive relevancy with like hair removal and New York City in this case. So local citations are like when you add things in yellow pages and a bunch of ones. And then what I would do
Okay.
is I would tier the citation. So what that means is if you have you have your site, right? So sugared and bronzed. You have the local citation which links to your sugared and bronze page. I would build a backlink that links to the citation, which links back to your sugared and bronze page. We did this. We've done this in moving. We've done this in a bunch of other niches, and this drives phenomenal results when it comes to local SEO.
Sorry, can you say that one more time? Also,
Yeah.
for some reason, I got kicked out of the Zoom, but I'm back in, but I can't see your screen.
Oh, can everybody else see my screen or no?
It might just be me.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I'm not showing
no worries.
anything. I'm not showing anything
Okay.
newsworthy
Okay.
right now. But
no worries. Okay.
basically,
That's here.
what I was saying is that essentially what you need to do is you need to, once you add the NAP to the landing pages, you add the the map embed on the landing pages. What you need to do is you need to build local citations to that specific landing page. And after you build local
Okay.
citations, you need to build links to the local citations. And what this does is this basically signals to Google that someone else is building a link to the local citations and the local citations are already ranking to you. So essentially think of it almost as like boosting your overall link profile. So this would work extremely well from a local SEO standpoint. And if you guys are not generating leads or a significant amount of leads, you guys have a lot of reviews for hair removal service. And I would think that this would be a no-brainer for you to focus on for the rest of this year.
And then when you say build links to the local citation, do you mean on?
I think I lost you.
Oh shoot! Sorry. Oh no. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. When you say build links to the local citations, do I build those links on our website?
No.
Where
So, yeah, so what you do is you go to, let me try to make it up. Not a good example, but let's just pretend that this is the link, townandcountrymag.com, right? In this, what you want to do is you want to build a link to the local citation. So the local citation will be like yellow pages. It'll be like something else. And that yellow pages link is linking to sugaredandbronze.com. That's the flow.
Right.
Like how you want links to go.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So that's what I do on the local SEO standpoint. Now, let's go through and try to see what I would do for.
Really
Can I
quick,
clarify something real quick?
quick question.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask on that kind of, I guess, three-legged approach. You're saying in the example of town and country, you would link from town and country to yellow pages, which would then link back to the local landing page?
Exactly.
Cool. Just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yeah. So tiered links is, I'd say, like, out of most of the companies that we work with, maybe 2% of companies do it, and it drives pretty significant value. So if you're building backlinks just in general, what I would do is I would continually build links and tier those links. So even if you're an e-commerce site, and let's say you wanted to build links to this collections page, what I would do is I would build a backlink like Town and Country Mag to this collections, and then I would build another link to Town and Country Mag as well. And that basically tiers the actual links themselves.
Got it.
Are you paying Town and Country? Like, what do you mean build a link on townandcountrymag.com?
So Town and Country Mag, I'm assuming that these are organic. I wouldn't go and pay for links, but essentially, like, you would go and pitch to Town and Country, Birdie, ideally niche publications that have a DR of 30 plus, and I would try to talk to them about writing an article about your niche. And in that article, I would insert like a link that is very relevant to what you're doing.
Okay.
So a couple of things I think on sugared and bronzed here, right? So I think similar thing, right? Like I would think about, is there like a collections opportunity that is different, right? So similar to the last example here, I'm noticing like some things around like you said, like the H1, probably needs to be optimized. Description looks quite long. This needs to probably be optimized further. So the key thing here is that whatever your core primary keyword is, so in this case, if it's sunless tanning prep wipe, what you want to do is in the title, the description, and the H1, which you guys did here, like I would make sure that that's consistent. So that's like the first thing right off the bat. And then if I go here, the other thing I would do, and this is relevant for everyone here, is if you go into ahrefs and you just see what are the positions from 3 to 15, these are immediately low-hanging fruit opportunities, because Google is basically saying like, hey, we are essentially allowing you to rank for these keywords. But the problem is that the intent is a little mismatched. So for example, this keyword airbrush tanning, right? 600 volume, low keyword difficulty. We currently rank number 4 for this. This should be quite easy for us to rank for. So what I would do in this case, I would look at the SERPs and I would basically try to see what would be, could I create like a specific landing page all about airbrush tanning? So like your competitor, I don't know if this is actually a competitor, but beachbum.com. Yeah, so beachbum.com, they created a page specific about airbrush tanning. And they ranked number 1 for it, right? So similarly, what I would do is I would do this across all of your keywords that, do you see here, like bronze spray tan, the homepage ranks for it. Bronze tanning, the homepage ranks for it. Spray tan Santa Monica, the homepage ranks for it. Like these are all signals that show that Google is telling you that I am associating your brand with this keyword. But for you to rank number one, which will not only drive click-through rate, but also traffic, all you need to do is create a page that's dedicated for it, optimize the primary keyword for the H1, meta description, title tag, whatnot, make sure the content is competitive. So what I would do in this case is I would go to bronze tanning and I would see who ranks number one. So in this case, it's bronzetan.com, right? Actually, this is not a good example. This is the home page. So these are all home pages. So this may not be the best example. It's probably going to be quite hard to rank for this particular keyword. But let me try to find something else. That's also not a good example. So like tanning products, right? So this is the collections opportunity, right? You guys rank, where did it go? Here it is. You guys rank number 14 for it. It gets 900 volume. It's a transactional keyword because if I look at the SERP intent, it's mostly all collections or home pages. I would go and create a page if you don't already, or optimize your current page for this keyword so that you'll be able to rank in the top spots. It doesn't drive a ton of traffic. It's still 100, but it's 100 people that are looking for, you know, a collections or product page to purchase something. So I would do this right off the bat in terms of like low hanging fruit and like how to go after it.
Okay. And then I have a question too. So I've been making some just like ugly pages that aren't, like if you go to our website, you can't really find them unless you have the link for it.
Yeah.
Does that, because I'm just trying to like get the keywords on there. Like you can't see right now, but I made a page that says like, what is airbrush tanning? What is a spray tan? What is sugar? Why is sugar waxing, or why is sugaring better than waxing? Like things like that. And you can't see them, but will Google know that they're not super like available, or is Google just going to see that it's on the website as its own page and take that and use it?
So if the page is indexed on Google, so the easy thing that you can do is you can throw this in here. And
Okay.
this, if you just do site colon, you can see all the pages that Google is essentially indexing for that specific page. And you can type in like, I don't know, like a particular keyword like tanning, and you'll see like what are all the pages that are relevant to tanning that Google is indexing for your, and there may be some other random things like Yelp and Google My Business that pop up.
Got it.
That's how I would figure out.
Okay.
I mean, you can do that and just no index the page, and no indexing the page basically shows Google that I'm not interested in adding that to my actual page itself.
But it's still ranking it, or it's still like using it to pull keywords.
If it's no index, it would not. It would essentially not be indexed by Google. Now, you could also no index the page, and then it wouldn't essentially be crawled by Google.
Okay. So when we do it as a blog, though, that's fine because that's there. So just maybe keep it into blogs instead of its own page.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No. That's okay. What were you gonna say?
No, the last thing I would just say here is like, you know, looking at the content, like it seems okay to me, but I think the most immediate thing is it's a lot of brand content. Like some of this is, you know, some information like how to prepare for a spray tan. I would do the same thing that I mentioned to the last company, right? Like Sugared and Bronze opens new store. Like that's great. Like that's good for branded content, but that's not going to drive traffic or drive conversions to your collection. So I would do something very similar in which when you actually write the content, make sure that call it in the first sentence, you have the primary keyword. In the first paragraph, you're internally linking to this particular product. And honestly, the reason I like doing low-hanging fruit is because it's way easier to take an existing page from, or an existing keyword from 15 to 2 than it is to create
Yeah.
a new blog post and like try to get it to
Right.
rank in the top spot. So that
Yeah.
to me feels like the most immediate things that I would do there. And then the last thing, obviously, like I mentioned, is I would continually build links to product and collections pages, as well as in your case of local SEO, like money pages that are driving you leads. Like I think some of your competitors, if I recall, like they were like Sugaring NYC.
Yeah.
They had specific ones like, you know, sugaring near me, I think is what it's called. Yeah, sugaring near me is like a good keyword. Sugar waxing near me, like these are keywords that you should focus on that I don't think I saw
Yeah.
or that you don't rank enough for.
Right. And then would I just like keep putting it in different places on the website, like keep writing blogs about it, or is it repetition? Is it where it is?
It's not really repetition. I think in the past, like repetition worked quite well, but these days it's more about like, just think of it almost as if you want to rank for a keyword, right? Like sugaring Boston,
that.
right? Or sugaring versus waxing. Like this is a good keyword. It gets a decent amount of volume. It has a low keyword difficulty, and they rank number 7 for it. So what I would do in this case is I would first look at the keyword. I would look at the search intent, right? So this is all blogs. You notice here how healthline.com, what's better, sugaring versus waxing, right? So this is going to be a content piece. So what I would do in your case is I would go and say, okay, I need to either A, I have a blog post about this, or B, I need to create a blog post about this. And then
Yeah.
what I would do is I would look at the top 3 spots and I would figure out what kind of content do I need to create that's going to be better than that. Make sure that you're including the primary keyword in a very natural way. You're consolidating a lot of the content into like one massive article. You're clustering similar keywords into one piece. And then I would publish it, build links to it, internally link that to product and collections pages. And that's
Okay.
what will allow you to rank for this particular keyword.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. Hopefully that was helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Quick question on
Okay.
that. Just
Yeah.
because you were talking about content marketing a little bit.
Yep.
When you're discussing content marketing, I work with a brand who's very heavy into like online printing services. So think like a local print shop, but they do it for online. And they have simple category pages, product pages for like books, but then they also have hardcover books, paperback books, hardback books, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a point where you're overdoing it on internally linking? And should I limit how many product pages I'm linking to? Say like I have the focus on hardcover books, but then comic books comes up, magazines comes up. Is it wise to still internally link that in the blog content? Or should I hold my internal links for the primary or target keyword?
Yeah, that's a great question, Zach. So what I'd like to say, I mean, the typical SEO answer is it depends, but I think to be more prescriptive to your question, like I would say, try to pick, again, depending on how big is this content? Is it 1,000 words, 1,500 words? Like how many words are we talking?
Content we've been pumping out lately has been like 1,500, 2,000 words.
Okay, so I would say like for 1,500 to 1,000 words or to 2,000 words, I'd probably say anywhere between 7 to 8 links is what I would do. But what I would do is I would not link to all product and collections pages, because to me that doesn't feel very natural if I'm Google like looking at your page. I'd probably pick like 2 really good internal linking opportunities, but I would prioritize one at the top so that as somebody's reading the article, hopefully they click on the actual content itself.
Got it. That's fair. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. What can we do next here? Just looking at the sheet, let us do, is Lincoln here?
I think I haven't seen him, honestly.
All
I
good, no worries.
messaged him earlier and he wasn't responding either.
Oh, no worries. Okay, is Rob here?
Yeah, that's me.
Zcaddy? Hey Rob, you want to tell us a little about Zcaddy?
Sure. I'm turning this on. Yeah, so just very quickly, it's a metal container for holding Zyn nicotine pouches, and I'm the founder, sole employee. We started pretty much like January this year, so about 7 months. The SEO so far has been very minimal. No real backlinks or anything. Essentially just have written a couple blog articles to start getting some keywords for like Zyn related topics on there. And then, doing some of the basic stuff, going through, making sure to label the metadata of all of my images, and putting the keywords that I found on ahrefs, like some of the top ones. That I think the number one that I was trying to rank for is just Zyn metal can. Including that into the product pages and on the homepage and stuff like that.
Awesome. What's the primary source of revenue today?
Meta ads.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, let's see what we can find. And competitors, who would you say are like biggest competitors for you?
If I'm searching that keyword, it's mostly just like Etsy, Amazon type
interesting.
competitors. There's not a ton of like direct competitors, I think, that have the same maybe like scale of my organization. One you could look up though is called Snus Stash, so SNUS dash.com.
SNUS stash.com.
Sorry, SNUS and then STASH.
Oh, got it. My bad. STA. You want to just throw it in the chat?
Yeah.
Wow, this is an interesting business.
I mean, it's like a very new space. Like, and it's just riding the Zyn wave, which is very hot right now, but there's not a ton of accessory plays on it right now. So that's kind of SEO is bizarre because there's not a ton of direct competitors. And I guess like your thoughts on how do you keep ranking for a nascent space when maybe there's not a ton of search for it right now, but I could see in the future there being more.
Yeah, so what I would say in that case is we've done this with like drinks, like CBD drinks, some of those categories that are just the volume is building itself up, and these tools, the problem is that they look at historical data to prove like future data. What I would just do is I would look at some of the Amazon data and help determine like what keywords do we think is going to be very relevant. Do you guys sell on Amazon or no?
No, not yet. Eventually, but it's enough of a lift right now to just do our own site, and the sales are good. So I'm like building up the product and our customer base just on our .com first.
What I also feel just like looking at the site, like I feel like it seems like the basics have been done like quite well. If I'm just like there are some things like I think like optimizing this a little bit more, like I would put like metals in cans and then like a slash Z caddy in terms of like the title is probably what I'd do. I'd probably just optimize these like descriptions. I think like same here. It's like I would add the primary keyword first and then add the brand name after. I think the biggest thing is like obviously like this has quite a bit of traffic. Is this possible for you to rank for? Let me just see. Yeah, so this is going to be tough to rank for, I think.
It's all going to be like news stories, I bet. Just from there was like a fire at a warehouse or something.
Yeah.
I was trying to do an article that was like, okay, there's a shortage, so then therefore what are the alternatives? I don't know how big that keyword is right now, though. I haven't really looked.
Which keyword?
Maybe like alternatives to Zyn. Zyn shortage was the huge one I think you were just looking at, but like alternatives maybe.
So this is where I would say like I would be very skeptical. We have seen situations in which there are keywords that show zero search volume, but drive a significant
check the
amount
spelling. Check the spelling on alternative.
My bad. But even then, I would still be a
Yeah,
little
not much.
skeptical. I'd be skeptical though, because
Okay.
because look, this is like first seen here, updated 2 days ago. They're looking at trends essentially with this traffic. I would also look at like, have you looked at like exploding topics, Reddit, to see like what kind of impressions these particular keywords are getting?
What do you mean by that? How would I determine that?
So like exploding topics, you can basically throw in a particular keyword and it'll show you relevant keywords that are related. And you can see like what's kind of like the growth that a lot of these keywords are getting. So that'll
Okay.
help you maybe determine like what are additional keywords for you to focus on.
Cool.
Let's just see here. So Zin metal can. Like I bet you that honestly, if you, Rob, just went and you updated the title, the meta description, the H1, this is a product page. So maybe what I would do is I would just try, like from a content standpoint, to add more content to this actual page related to metals and can. And I think by doing that, you may even like, we see this routinely with like even Amazon, because most of this is going to be collections. But I think in this case, you may be able to get to the second spot for this particular keyword.
So if you do like, if I don't know if Google does this based on my personal thing, but if I type in metals in can on Google, I get Zcaddy as the second result. I don't know if that is just me or if that's how it, oh, yeah, I guess I could check in incognito.
Is it CADDY?
Just do metals in can.
Was in can.
So it's like high up there now because I think there's just not that much out there.
Yeah. So what I would just do though is it's probably going to be, how many links are you building a month currently?
I have no plan for that. So I do maybe like 2 blog posts a month.
I would maybe, if you have the budget for it, I'd maybe consider sprinkling in, anywhere between like 4 to 6 links a month, specifically to product and collections. Like it actually looks quite good just to see that the products are what are ranking and not blogs, to be honest with you. I would go in and optimize the specific product and collections pages further, like just the things like the meta descriptions running off, things like that. But I would build some links, because not only will that bump up the domain authority, but also for some of these particular keywords, like it may just be a function, because the space is new, of like just not having enough links compared to some of the competitors. And you can look at the number of referring domains to determine like how many you may need to build in order to rank for these particular keywords.
Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Like for this one, for example, like I think if you updated the meta description, H1, all that, and say you built, say 2-3 links to this, like you may be able to even clinch the top spot just from doing those kind of 2 or 3 things right there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
Okay. We have time for one more. And then, for anyone that I wasn't able to get to, feel free to just shoot me an email and I'm down to help you one way or the other. Either get on a call and show you, or I can just give you a couple of pointers on things that I would do.
Chirag, would you mind sending your email on the chat?
Yeah, let me do that now.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's .co, not .com. Not yet. Let me try to find something that is like from 0. Basically, there's no traffic today. But let's do this. Sorry, I take that back. I wasn't able to find anything fast enough. Is Brad here from Air Oasis?
Yes, right here.
Hey Brad, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
So we
So tell me about Air-Oasis.
okay. We are a 20-year-old company, and we manufacture and sell primarily on our website, but also Amazon, and are just launching on Wayfair portable air purifiers. So these are plug and play, um, uh, medical grade HEPA with some carbon filtration, other technologies, including some ionization to help clean the air of allergens and mold spores and dust, dander, VOCs, and the like. So we have been an e-commerce focused brand for about 5 years, and we made that pivot from selling through third-party distributors just before COVID. So things blew up during COVID, and then, like a lot of people, the last couple of years, we've had to earn our keep a little bit more. We've outsourced SEO, and have been a little bit hands off with it. So I'll try to answer the questions you can. Our founder was on for a while, but I think he may have dropped. John, are you on? I don't think he is. I'm just looking through. But yeah, that's the intro.
Amazing. And Brad, is like paid search, like obviously like Ahrefs shows me a little bit of data here, but is paid search like a decent size of the business or not really, or?
Google is about a third of our business. We've been
Well,
off and on Meta. We're just relaunching on Meta.
got it. So, and do you know what happened between like, I mean, for everyone here, like I'm looking at the general trend of keywords, and if you can see here, it kind of follows like the overall trend. Like if I look at the past year, that's a bad view. Let's look at the past year, right? Like I think we're kind of back to where we were, a little bit under where we were, call it in, September of 2023. So like what has kind of happened to the site over a period of time?
Well, we've moved to Shopify, I think about 18 months ago. I mean, just trying to think of the big changes that have happened. We've pulled back on paid ads from a budget standpoint, and have been able to maintain some better productivity, but from a traffic standpoint, not sure if that's contributing to that.
So let's see how far we can go back and see what's kind of happened. Just look at the past 6 months. So it feels like things, generally speaking, have recovered quite well. I mean, if I'm just looking at like a number of like these ones, like air purifier for allergies, like let's do this. Let me go to the keywords to see low-hanging fruit, and then let's figure out. The thing that I think is going for you, or one of the things that's going for you, is that you guys have such a rich domain rating because you've just been in business for such a long time. So what I would do is I would go and filter this by 50, and I would try to figure out, these are all the opportunities that I can think of. Maybe not 4, let me do 6.
Yeah. And we launched some peripheral products like humidifiers, essential oil diffusers, essential oils about 18 months ago as well. And so we're refocusing mainly on our core product, the one that's called iAdapt Air 2.0.
Perfect. So a couple of things right off the bat, right? Best air purifier for allergies. This is a good keyword just because I know in e-commerce, this will drive conversions and traffic, right? Most of this, if you see here, is content. But if you see here, Google is trying to rank this page. What is this page? Is this like a blog post? Or what is this supposed
This is
to be?
it's a listicle. It was intended as a landing page.
Okay. So what I would do
we
in this
haven't
case,
really monetized it.
Got it. Okay. So what I would do is I would look at several of these opportunities, like best air purifier for allergies, lemongrass essential oil benefits. If I actually click on this keyword and I go to the SERPs, do you notice here how all of these, not all, but many of these in the top spots are going to be blog posts, right? 11 reasons to use lemongrass. So this is really important that I keep seeing companies mistake is like, essentially you need to go with the flow of like what Google is doing. So if Google is ranking a particular keyword for a blog post, then you need to create a blog post. You can't create a collections or product page and expect it to rank. So I think in this case, like I don't think that's what's going on here. I think it's just a function of, you know, this particular keyword is essentially being ranked here. So I would pull that out now to create a content piece about lemongrass essential oil benefits and internally link to this products page about lemongrass essential oil. The second thing that I would probably do is I would take your competitors. I would do a gap analysis off the competitors and try to figure out like which ones have very similar metrics that have a lowest DR, have a KD under 30, and have traffic at least 1,000 or more. And I would use that cut to determine like what keywords do we want to focus on, A, for our product and collections pages, and B, for our content. And same here, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I'm telling you that this works quite well, is with each of these blog posts, I think you could be wrong on this one. Let's go to iconic air purifiers.
Yeah, we've got a few pill pieces, and we're blogging about once a week.
Great, that's perfect. Yeah, so what I would do is I would try as much as possible, as I think you're doing here, is internally linking to the product and collections pages. But I would take a look at the actual competitor landscape and then figure out like what keywords can we actually rank for? Do we have to re-optimize our existing collections or products pages based on what they're ranking for today, or like make tweaks to the actual H1s, meta descriptions to make sure that we're essentially able to rank for them accordingly. And then like from a link building standpoint, like what is the agency currently doing?
Well, we've got in addition to blogging, we've got a PR agency that's trying to get us, you know, mentions on different you know, platforms and, you know, large outlets, things like that. Those are the main efforts right now.
Got it. I would maybe consider in that case, like kind of similar to the other examples, like for your product and collections pages, I would build a handful of links to them on a monthly basis. And I think like number one, not only will you see better improvement, but you'll see some of the solidified of those rankings for specific product pages. So like bergamot oil, for example, I'd have to look at these individually for the SERPs, but these are places where I think if we built some links, you notice here how there's no links that are being built. There's a 0 here. So I think if we built a couple of links here, maybe there's some additional optimizations we can do to the actual. So like description's a little bit long here. I think the H1 should be good. Yeah, H1 looks good. So I think like just making those changes, I'd have to look at this content to make sure that this is optimized for bergamot essential oil. It looks pretty good to me, but that in and of itself, I think will bump you up past these because Google is moving. If you can see the SERPs here, they tend to be moving more towards product and collections pages for bergamot essential oils and less towards content pieces. So my guess is Healthline may or may not actually drop off the SERPs because like that seems to be the trend that we're noticing with product and collections pages.
Great.
Does that help?
Chirag. It does.
Cool. Awesome. Shin, all yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, I think this was amazing. Everyone who, if you're still here and you got an audit, you're gonna receive a document with like an SOP basically on what Chirag went through. And also, if you're here and you want an audit, you can send me a Slack message. You can email Chirag, and then we'll help you get your audit too. And that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for joining. I had a great time, and we'll also upload the recording probably tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thanks, Chirag.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.